The Ready, Set, Grow podcast is sponsored by Ag Expert, software designed for Canadian agriculture. Visit them today at agexpert.ca.
Welcome to the Ready, Set, Grow podcast, where we like to showcase startup and early stage companies, as well as visit with innovators in the agriculture and food industry. Today, we're here with Joe Dales, co-founder at RH Accelerator, and Dana McCauley, Chief Experience Officer at the Canadian Food Innovation Network. Dana, thanks for joining us today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I've been in the food business with a capital F pretty much since I graduated from university. I started working in food service, became a chef, and then segued into food media, which eventually took me into some really exciting and interesting types of topics that got me involved with the food business. And I had a career as a food product innovator and product developer for a number of years at an executive level. And then I ran something called Food Starter, which was kind of a unique and exciting opportunity to have both food business education and combined with a place where food entrepreneurs could bring their food products to life. Then I went off to University of Guelph, where I helped them to create an entrepreneurship program for their agri-food professors and researchers. And here I am now at the Canadian Food Innovation Network as an executive, where we hope to help bring Canada to the world with great ideas that will not just innovate how we work here in Canada, but everywhere.
We're really excited to learn more about that. Congratulations on joining this new organization. For the people that have not heard of it, can you give us a little bit of the story and
Absolutely.
What you want to accomplish, and then how can the industry support you?
Such a big question. And I'm really glad you asked it, though, because a lot of people are like, what is the Canadian Food Innovation Network? And it's a little different. It's not an industry association. It's not a super cluster. We are touching on all the things that all those groups touch on. But hopefully, if you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you've got self-actualization at the top, and at the very base is food, water, shelter. Well, if you apply that to thinking about the food business, you of course need to be a safe, compliant, and credible business, and then you build up, to create unique products, and then you build culture and a team, and at the very top of your food business actualization pyramid is innovation. So we need everybody who's doing all the other stuff that's a little bit below that in the food industry, and then when they want to do something that's new and potentially disruptive, Seafin's there to help. So we're a not-for-profit, and we have some funds from the government to flow into programs. And we've decided that what we can do to help is to really make sure that we have problem owners and solution owners coming together in new ways. Canada's such a big country, and as we all know, with provincial governments and other regional benefits of working together, sometimes if you're in the prairies, you have no idea that in Atlantic Canada, there's this amazing capacity and knowledge that can help you. So the big thing about CFIN that'll make us different from other funding bodies is that we're going to try and bring all those folks together, both in real life when possible and electronically through this innovation connector platform that I'm building with my team, where hopefully that map of Canada with the Trans-Canada Highway, we'll just fold it up and everyone will be able to talk to each other and learn from each other in some new ways, so that that we can just shake it up.
Would you be able to take us through some of the specific programs that you have at CFIN?
Sure. Yeah. So we have 3 official programs. Plus, we plan to do, one-offs where we have partnerships ourselves, because we also want to collaborate. So the Food Innovation Challenge is a program that is shared, 50% shared funds. that we will give consortia. So it needs to be led by a food business, but they can be working with all different types of collaborators, from research institutions to partners who can have the technology or the equipment or some other kind of know-how to help them solve their problem. And those are programs from $1 million to $4 million. And we have 7 applications right now that are being reviewed by adjudicators. And we hope to announce a couple of projects by the end of March this year. And then we have what we call the Innovation Booster Program. And it is a fast turnaround. It's a continuous intake, but in 6-week cycles. So the next one closes March 4th. And the idea there is you know where you want to go, you know what you want to test, but there's something that's blocking you. And this program is open to businesses as well as to researchers who have something that's just keeping them from commercializing their technology. So if you're familiar with TRL scales, that stands for technology readiness. We generally work between 1 and 7. So 0 would be discovery in a lab, the Einstein aha moment. And then 8 and 9 are when you're, in market and you have repeat customers, that kind of thing. So we're helping folks to prototype and to, untangle these messy knots that, like maybe they could take their technology to market in 2 or 3 different ways. Well, hopefully they can come to us and we'll help them to identify what the highest value, easiest path to success is. And then this is kind of a little less fully defined, I suppose. We'll also have pitch tanks, which we haven't done one yet, and hope to do our first one in our next fiscal year, which is April 1st onward. And the idea there is that we're going to bring exciting, as we're starting to call them, foodicorns, these companies who are, really onto something new and exciting, showcase them to the world to help them find the partners and the investors that they need to grow and do exciting things. So that's that's what we do with funding. But then program-wise, our Innovation Connector platform is going to have lots of activity on it, lots of content written by people who are working inside the food business, as well as what we're calling experiences, because some of them will be hybrid, but all of them will be online. And we've got some great speakers and even an augmented reality session with some plant tours of places that are using robotics and automation in interesting ways coming up. So beyond the typical webinar.
So, Dana, you've been in the food business for a long part of your career. What are the exciting innovation areas that you see that companies should be considering to pour some R&D and innovation effort into these days?
Yeah, there's some that sound like really like exciting and high tech, and then there's some that you're kind of like, oh yeah, whatever. But they're really important opportunities. On one that I think people take for granted, I would say the silver economy. So not talking about food for old age homes necessarily, although that could be part of it, but more for that demographic. Everybody wants to go for the next demographic. Millennials were the flavor for quite a few years. Now everybody's like, what's going to happen with Gen Z? And that's interesting, and I have lots of thoughts on Gen Z. But that group of sort of 55 to 60 plus is really poorly served by food service and by shopping. And not only do they have a different lifestyle, but they also are generally choosing particular types of foods for very specific reasons. So, for instance, the plant-based consumer in that demographic is not even close to being the same as the plant-based consumer in their 20s. And when it comes to food service, they don't necessarily like the loud music, the this, the that. So there's a real interesting way to capture this demographic with new technologies and new offerings that will help them to open up their wallets, which are pretty sizable wallets when you look at the overall demographics of not just Canada, but globally. But on the exciting side, definitely there's some cool sci-fi kind of technology out there. Digitization across the supply chain is making food safer and more secure. A supply of food more secure. Also seeing really cool stuff happening in food service. Robotics, of course, gets a lot of conversation, but even just the way that you order food and an interface with the restaurant. There's a company out of Vancouver who has a technology where you scan a QR code the same way you used to see it. In their case, up pops but it seems like a real person, but it's actually an automated system who can answer questions about your driver and your this and your that, and actually really make it quite fun to be in a restaurant again. So there's lots of exciting stuff with technology, and then there's just some of that poking your head up and looking around and realizing like, yeah, we forgot about that group.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I think, we've seen a lot of changes over the last 2 years in a lot of industries. And I think food is one of those. Can you tell us a little bit about in the last 2 years, what changes you've seen?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of the changes I've seen the last couple of years have been really, not the happy stories for a lot of businesses. As I mentioned earlier, I'm trained as a chef and I'm married to a restaurateur. So we have many, many friends who are in the food service business. Some of them are exhausted right now, and some of them are a bit defeated, but they're all complete champs. I have been so impressed by how people who run food service businesses have reinvented themselves over and over again. I think, it's very interesting to see how the convergence, we used to always talk about how grocery stores were kind of cutting the grass of food service by adding in, more cooked food and, cafes and that kind of thing. Now I see a tremendous number of restaurants who have become grocerants, I guess. So, offering meal kits and offering all kinds of the, curated specialty ingredients that the chefs use to create the meals you eat in-house and different ways of delivering. It's that whole, we're at a transitional moment for food service, and it's almost changing daily. Certainly on the grocery side, we've seen a much bigger focus on local for a whole bunch of reasons. One for, that's the patriotic, wanting to, root for the home team and support your neighbors, which of course was a big part of keeping some of these food service establishments rolling during lockdowns as well. But also seeing more emphasis on local because of the supply chain issues that have become, just snowballed, it seems, kind of out of control. So those are two of the sort of biggies. I think consumers are very conscious of where their food came from and who they're supporting more and more often these days.
Yeah, it's an exciting time for the whole food industry. Any other things you want to bring up to the audience? What do you need so that the industry can support your success?
Well, that is such a great question, and thank you for giving me an opportunity. Anyone who's interested and working in the food industry is invited to become a CFIN member. We are completely open to anyone who's got a professional interest in food, and that could be in retail, grocery, manufacturing, packaging, blockchain, what have you. And our memberships are 100% free and always will be, because we really want to listen to what people who are working in the food business trying to solve big problems, small problems. We want to hear what they're dealing with so that we can take that information and turn it into really great programs and supports. So yeah, it would be fantastic if folks who are watching took a moment to click through to our website and become a member. And once June comes and my platform is online, I think it'll be a destination for most people to go and get all of the, sort of one-stop shopping kind of info they need to stay up to date with what's happening in the food biz in Canada.
Yeah, that's great, and yeah, I've checked out what Seafin is working on, and it's really interesting. And we're trying to follow a little bit of what you do on social media, and you're active on Twitter, and just getting that sort of insight. But I think with one thing I've seen is CFIN seems like it's a fairly new organization. So I'm sure you've gone through some growing pains over the last a year. Can you take us through a few of those?
Well, it's interesting because you say the last year, and I can't even speak to you in the context of a year, Michael, because I joined as employee number 2 on August 30th of 2021. So it's really, we're counting it in months, but as I say, I was employee number 2 that day. Our CEO, Joe Lake, started earlier in the month in August. And we are now up to, I think, having about 10 employees. I'm building this really fantastic team of regional innovation directors who will, as their title implies, will be seated across the country. And those folks are going to be like the boots on the ground, fingers on the keyboard kind of types who will, get in and out of all the local events and all the offices that people are running really interesting businesses from, or businesses that they want to make more interesting. And it's been a gallop. We launched 2 programs, been hiring all these folks, creating this innovation connector platform, all while just trying to learn everything we can as well. And it's been so far a very exciting ride and very gratifying. And it's just amazing the people like you guys who are interested in what we're doing and asking us questions. It really makes me feel like we're on the right track and that we've got something really relevant to do. So yeah, hopefully in a year from now we can touch base and tell you about the cool projects we funded and about all the amazing content we have online. But right now it's just like every day is building. It's the scaffolding gets a little higher though. That's good news.
Well, that's terrific, and we appreciate all your passion and hard work. If people want to follow up with you, I guess hit the website, follow you on Twitter, social media. Yeah. How can they engage?
Sure. So
once they become members,
once you become a member, we'll keep in touch with you, and you'll get all of our information first. But we are on Twitter, and right now we have one handle, at CFIN-RCIA for both French and English. But very soon, starting in March, we will be dividing out those handles between a French thread and an English thread, because we're finding that the content that resonates with our members is a little bit different. We're also on LinkedIn, and soon we'll be launching Instagram, again in both French and English. And if anybody wants to get in touch with me, I'm Dana at cfin-rcia.ca, and we are wide open for business, and look forward to hearing from anybody who's got questions or ideas or wants more information.
Great. Good luck, and just let us know how we can support you.
I will. Don't you worry. I'll be knocking on your door, mister.
And I just wanted to thank all our listeners for tuning into the Ready, Set, Grow podcast today. And thank you, Dana, for joining us and taking us through Seafin and a little bit of the food industry.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.